Hello again to all my brothers and sisters back home. This is Stephen Piercy coming to you from the 29th International Teamsters Convention in Las Vegas, Nevada. Today was Wednesday, June 29th. So just like the last couple days, I'm going to go through my notes with you guys to keep you informed on what's going on out here. Like previously, my notes may not be in the exact order they happened during the convention. I moved things around a little bit preparing for the video. So we're going to get right to it. The first order of business today was the next round of nominations. So the election supervisor came and took the stage again and started that process. Today was the nominations for the regional vice presidents. There's a lot of those, and a lot of different people were nominated for that. About 28 to 30, I believe. So that took a long time because just like yesterday, you have to have a member, or a delegate rather, nominate you and they get 2 minutes to speak. Another delegate second you and they get 1 minute to speak. And then if you were nominated, you get to either accept or decline in a very short speech. So with as many people as was nominated, that process took quite a while. It took about 2 hours, in fact. And then at the end of that, the election supervisor came out and explained the rules for voting again. The rules for the region is just, the regional presidents is just a little bit different. Once again, all the delegates at the close of the convention today go to vote. That's about 5 p.m. They get in lines and go to a voting booth for a secret ballot vote. But unlike yesterday, today, because this is a regional thing, only people from that region can vote on those candidates. So like, for example, Teamsters 89, we're from the Central region. So we can only vote on people from the Central region. As a result of that, to get on the ballot in the fall, a nominee has to receive 5% of the delegate vote from that particular region. It can't be 5% overall like it was the day before. It has to be from that specific region. So that took quite a while. But after that, there was a presentation about drug addiction and what the Teamsters Union are doing to help fight that. There was a call for donations to be made from the delegates present, the local unions present, the joint councils present, to support a charity called Breaking Barriers and to help fight against drug addiction. A lot of money from the various locals and joint councils was donated or pledged. And they're trying to build a treatment center in Akron, Ohio, that will help people out. The last number I heard was that about $1.4 million had been pledged, which is really impressive between all the different locals and joint councils that are here. There were a couple discussions throughout the day. One was about engaging younger members to kind of bridge the generational gap in knowledge of unions. Most of our parents knew a lot about unions. They grew up knowing a lot about unions, but the newer generations, they didn't grow up with that. Unions aren't as prevalent in society as they used to be. They're not. The media kind of ignores us a lot, so a lot of younger people don't really have a clear understanding of what unions are. So there was some discussion about trying to talk to newer members to address that, make sure they understand the importance of unions in today's society. There was also a discussion on the continuing organizing campaigns across the country of school bus drivers and the successes that have been had there so far. There was a videoed speech given by Senator Elizabeth Warren, a Democrat from Massachusetts, about the Central States Pension Fund and the crisis going on there. Obviously, all our members in the Central States at Local 89 should have a good understanding of that because we've been talking about it a lot here at Local 89. Then there was a big discussion about the pension crisis. There was a lot of talk about how deregulation in the 80s really started the problem. Then it got really compounded by the stock market crash in 2008 and 2009. Regulation and different legislation and court cases have hurt us over time. And then there was a lot of talk about things we need to start doing to kind of get that crisis under control and get our pensions back on track. There was a lot of talk about MEPRA, which is the Multi-Employer Pension Reform Act, which passed in December 2014, which allowed the central states to try to cut the plan, like we all have been hearing about for a while. Of course, the Treasury Department recently rejected those cuts, so that's not happening right now, but that's a short-term solution. We have to find longer-term solutions. So some of the things that were talked about was, different things that we need to focus on to fix those in the future. There were a few guest speakers from the pension movement that were brought up, people who have usually rank and file members who have really stepped up to help try and fight back against the pension cuts. And that led into the only resolution that was brought up in today's session, which was a resolution about pensions and asking that all unions continue to fight to protect retirement security and to engage in political legislation to help correct this crisis. Things like repealing MEPRA, passing COPPA, which is the Keep Our Pension Promises Act that Senator Bernie Sanders authored. That's a really good piece of legislation that would be great to get passed. And also the Pension Accountability Act, which more or less reverses MEPRA. So that resolution was just basically asking all locals and joint councils in the international to continue fighting that fight. Of course, naturally, that motion was seconded. There's a lot of interesting discussion on it, and it was unanimously passed by voice vote. There were also a few guest speakers throughout the day. The president of the UAW, or the United Auto Workers, Dennis Williams, spoke for a while. There were several guest speakers from the school bus drivers campaigns that's been going on. There was a guy named Ariel Jacoby, who is the general secretary of IUGE. That's the Israel Union of Government Employees. So that was a foreign union that came over and talked about the similarities between unions here and in Europe and the Middle East. And the last guest speaker was a guy named Hassan Youssef. He is the president of the Canadian Labour Congress. So he's another foreign labor organization that came and spoke. So that was, in a nutshell, what happened today at the convention. We believed that they were going to talk about constitutional amendments today. That didn't happen. So we're expecting that to happen either tomorrow on Thursday or during the final day of the convention on Friday. So we will keep you guys informed as best we can going forward. So once again, thank you guys for watching. Please stay tuned to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and everything else to see these videos and hear what's going on. And you have a nice day. Thanks.